Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of the Speakers and Leaders Hour. We come into your home once a month on first Tuesdays, and I have to tell you, this month it crept up on us really quick. But first Tuesday is the first, and so we've kind of scrambled to get this program together and on the air, but I assure you that it will be as exciting as all of the others we've ever done, and we have great people to work with. I'm Dave Wilkins. I am the host-producer of this show. I'm also a member of the Parliamentary Society as well as Toastmasters International. I have a panel this evening of members, close friends, I have to say, in the Toastmaster and parliamentary world, and I'd like to introduce them at this time. On my left, your far right, will be Mr. Bob Norris. Bob is the Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training for all of District 11, which encompasses Indiana and parts of northern Kentucky. And if all goes well, next year he will be our District Governor. Way to go, Bob. He's moved up that ladder quite nicely, and we're really proud of him. Sitting next to Bob is our own Tom Haller, who is a member of my Toastmaster Club, the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters, as well as the Bob Lyman Club and the Advanced Speakers and Leaders Club. And he is the current president of the local chapter of the Bob Lyman chapter of the American Institute of Parliamentarians. I would say that he is a busy guy. Tom, thanks for being here tonight and helping round out our wonderful panel. And on the other side of the table, last but not least, is a young lady who enjoys coming and being here, and we enjoy having her. And that young lady is Patricia Knaebe. Now, Patricia currently serves as the Lieutenant Governor of Division B, and Division B is all of Northeast Indiana. And she has under her jurisdiction or under her purview 3 different areas and about 15 or 20 different clubs, all report to her to hope they're all doing the right Toastmaster thing at the right time. Patricia, thank you for being here this evening. I'm glad you're all here this evening and ready to go. And these last few months we've begun by talking about tips and tricks and things that we can do in the beginning of giving speeches. So I thought I would just open the floor up and ask, are there any special little secret things, little personal things that you do before you give a speech that helps make it better? And who would like to start? Ladies first, Patricia?
I'll be happy to answer the question for you, Dave.
Absolutely.
I think it's important, especially when you are beginning speeches for Toastmasters, to practice your speeches in front of a mirror, to get your facial expressions, your body language down so that when you stand in front of the audience, you are polished and you have the confidence to succeed at giving your speech.
And you think that really helps you to stand in front of a mirror and just kind of get the visual, immediate feedback on what you're doing and how you're doing it? Do you like practice gestures at the same time?
Practice gestures, practice facial expressions.
I know some people who have a text for a speech or even write in gesture, like raise hand or reach out to the audience. Do you write those into yours, or do you just let them occur naturally?
I don't typically write those in unless it is something important and I think I might forget it. Then I will make a note. Otherwise, I let the gestures happen naturally.
Okay, I think that's probably as good and wise a counsel as you can give. Okay, on this side, Tom?
Yes. First of all, you probably didn't realize I had this authority, but Patricia's been doing such a good job that I'm going to give her a promotion. I'm going to make her full governor of Area 20, Division B. Not lieutenant governor, but full governor. And very similar to what she said, I would, in fact, recommend that a person, and this would have application to somebody that's speaking a long time, I would recommend that they speak into a microphone and record their voice and listen to themselves speak. Most people, including myself, have no idea how they sound. They also have no idea how many ahs, ums, clearing of the throats, and that kind of thing they do. And it can become rather old for an evaluator to be constantly telling them that if they don't seem to be getting the picture. So it's really a very great revelation for a lot of people, and I know it was for me, to listen to yourself speak.
Do you use a microphone regularly when you're practicing, or if you possibly can?
I've used it sometimes. Regularly would be a little too strong, but I have.
Okay. I've read once that if you want to actually hear what you yourself sound like, to stand in a corner, right angle corner, with your face looking straight ahead, facing the wall, and talk to the corner. And the sound will hit the wall and bounce back into your ear before the sound is conducted from your bones into your ear channels. Because primarily that is how we hear ourselves. We hear the bone conduction sound rather than the actual air-expressed words coming out. Very interesting time.
I did not know that. I appreciate that tip.
And you might try that sometime, too.
I'll do that.
Of course, with my house being so crowded with corners full of books and everything, you got to lean way in and find something like that to do. Oh, and folks, I have to make a correction here. If I was wrong about Patricia being Division B governor, I neglected entirely that Tom is Area 24 governor. So that's also a very important position here in Division B. Thank you, Tom. And last but not least, Mr. Norris, do you have any tips for us?
Practice, practice, practice. Every opportunity that you have, take it when you have the chance to speak. Of course, in my opinion, the best opportunity to do this is in a Toastmasters club. But I've also learned a couple other things through Toastmasters and acquaintances. Deep breathe. Breathe from your tummy like a baby does. And when you can, exercise your jaw muscles by stretching them. Weird looking, but what it does is it keeps your muscles from your jaw from tensing up. And when people keep a tense movement in their jaw, over the years they actually can suffer from something called TMJ, or temporomandibular joint syndrome, which means you have difficulty opening and closing your mouth. I've talked to some professional speakers that get paid big dollars about this, because I saw one doing it one time when he didn't know anyone was looking. But different things you can do, probably practice, practice, practice. Join a Toastmasters club so you get evaluations versus critiques. Back to Dave.
Amazing. You could get a Toastmaster commercial in there as well as impress us with that huge word. What was that again?
The TMJ, temporomandibular joint syndrome.
Temporal mandibular joint
Something
syndrome.
like that. TMJ is what they call it for short.
Oh.
It fits right in with Toastmasters because we use so many acronyms.
Well, there you go. Oh, we do. We have alphabet soup behind our names on all of our badges. Well, I would suggest one tip is that when you're getting ready to speak, if you have access to it, take a nice big long sip of water. Also, while you're walking to the lectern, wet your lips. And when you get there, stand, look at the audience. In fact, scan the whole audience so that you see everyone and they see you. And then smile. And then, with great gusto, begin your presentation. And you will have started with a bang, and if you have some good material, I think you will find yourself giving a very credible presentation. So any other suggestions that you have that you do? Do you have like a lucky penny you put in the bottom of your shoe? Or Now, when you talk about practice, 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 I know I don't actually stand in front of a mirror and practice. I don't know if I actually practice, but I'm constantly thinking about what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. And when I finally get to the venue, when it comes out, I don't know what I'm going to say until I've said it. And but I've worked on it. I've worked on it quite a while to see if it's going to all flow together. So I hope it does. Well, those are some tips on public speaking that you can learn in the Toastmaster setting. And the Toastmaster setting that we talk about is here in Fort Wayne, the clubs all over the place. We've got them in the morning, we have them at lunchtime, we have them in the evening, and every single club is filled with really nice people. You've got to go a long way to find anybody that's nicer than Toastmasters. But that are interested in you, that are interested in helping you become better. You really you really couldn't hire someone or a group of someone's to help you improve who you are and what you do than going to a Toastmaster meeting. Check out a meeting anywhere that you want. There's a lot of good ones out there. Well, we're talking about public speaking, and speaking is what we do. So we are going to have 2 speeches tonight by 2 of our members, and they are going to share with us some information. Our first presenter is Patricia Knaebe, a distinguished Toastmaster, and as we mentioned before, she's also our Division B governor. She's a charter member of the American Red Cross Toastmasters Club, and she is working to complete the Competent Communicator Manual, project number 2, which is to organize your speech. The speech is supposed to have an opening, a body, and a close. And her speech is entitled, What's Happening in Division B? Please welcome Patricia Knaebe, Division B Governor.
Thank you, Master Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most honored guests at home. I received a phone call a few nights ago from Mr. Dave Wilkins, and he said to me, Patricia, this is a reminder that Tuesday is the 1st of October, and we have a TV show to do. And I said, yes, Dave, I have it on my calendar already. And he said, you're going to participate then? I said, absolutely. What would you like me to speak about? He said, well, why don't you talk about what's going on in Division B? And I thought to myself, okay, we've already had our officers training. Dues were due at midnight last night for clubs. We have a few things coming up, but not a whole lot. What am I going to talk about? And then an idea popped into my head, and here we go. I am going to start by talking about the Division B Humorous Speech Contest, which is happening this Saturday, October 5th, here at the downtown location of the Allen County Public Library. The speech contest encompasses all 3 of the areas that are in Division B. We have 4 contestants competing to go on to the district level. This event is open to the public, it is free of charge, and we welcome anyone in the public who is interested in looking at what we do in Toastmasters, how much fun we have at our contest. Please join us on Saturday. We would love to have you here. We are going to be meeting in Conference Room B, which if you walk into the main doors, you will find it on the south wall of the library. Again, free of charge, open to the public. We would love to have a great audience for our great contestants. Another initiative that Division B is involved in is a membership team, and our membership team meets once a month. We usually meet the last Wednesday of the month, and that is going to be the case again this month. Wednesday, October 30th is our meeting. We meet at the Great Wall Buffet 2 in the Pine Valley Shopping Mall. We meet from 6 to 8 o'clock. We socialize from 6 to 6:30, and then we have our meeting from 6:30 to 8. And we meet about what it is that we are doing in our division to promote our clubs, enhance our clubs, make our clubs the best they can be. And one of the things we are working on this particular year is building memberships in the clubs. Again, this is something for all club members. It's not just for the presidents of clubs, the vice president of public relations, or the vice president of membership. If you are a current member of a Toastmasters club and want to be part of this initiative, please join us on Wednesday, October 30th. We would love to have you as part of the team. Be part of the solution as opposed to being part of the problem. We'd love to have you with us. I mentioned briefly that club dues are due. They were actually due at midnight last night, September 30th. In order for your club to be current, you must have at least 6 paid members on your club roster at this time to be current with Toastmasters International. Please check your rosters and make sure that is happening. We do have a district fall conference. I won't go into details on that because I'm sure someone else at the table this evening is going to speak about it. But after that fall conference, events die down for us in not only the division but the district, and they stay pretty low-key until after the holiday season. Well, during this lull in contests and training, this is a good time to take stock in your clubs. I would propose that you delegate someone to give the moments of truth from the Successful Club series. This is a great presentation that opens up discussion to how clubs can improve. It is, if you will, an evaluation in an hour-long session. What do we as a club do well? What are we doing to bring people in? What are we doing to enhance our club, to facilitate growth of our members in our club? But on the other hand, what can we do differently to improve the club? How can we make our club a better place, not only for our members, but also for our guests who are potential members? Moments of Truth also facilitates discussion about goals and actions that can be taken within the club. It is a nice transition into the discussion about the Distinguished Club Program. And the Distinguished Club Program is a program that every single club should be working on each year. We have a number of clubs in Division B that met Distinguished Club status last year. 3 come to mind immediately. One is the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters Club. They are the gold standard of clubs. They consistently meet the Distinguished Club status. And with having 2 members here at the table this evening, I had better call them President's Distinguished, otherwise I'm going to hear about it later. Bob Lyman Club is also another club that met the Distinguished Club status. I believe Select Distinguished, if I am not mistaken, and the Red Cross Club also met Select Distinguished last year. Incidentally, those 3 clubs are represented on the membership team that meets once a month. Coincidence? I don't know. We do have officers training coming up in January. I won't give you the dates at this time for the training, although I will say the dates have been set, so there will be an email going out on that. Please make sure your clubs are training at least 4 officers per training session, as this is a requirement of the Distinguished Club Program. We will then move on in the spring to the Tall Tales and International Speech Contests. Again, dates have been set. I'm going to keep those a secret for the time being. A lot going on in Division B, a lot of exciting events. Come be part of the excitement in Division B. We would love to have you. Master Toastmaster.
I'm coming. I just have to mention this right now. For, as a matter of fact, we time everything in Toastmasters, and we try to stay right on target. And the target for this speech was 5 to 7 minutes. Look at your time there. It was exactly 7 minutes. Exactly, right on the nose. I mean, you couldn't do it any better than that. So, what a good job! What a great speech! And if you are a Toastmaster, you've been forewarned of the good stuff coming up. If you want to find out more about Toastmasters, those are some of the things you'd have to look forward to. Okay, now we're going to get into, later on in the program, some of the parliamentary procedure, but we're going to have a presentation right now by our Area 24 Governor, Tom Haller. He's working on the basic manual, project number 9, and he, as I have mentioned earlier, is the president of the Bob Lyman Toastmaster Club, and also our local chapter of AIP, with his presentation entitled Parliamentary Misconceptions. Let's welcome Tom Haller.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests out there. An opening, a body, and a close. I wish somebody told me that earlier. No. In all seriousness, it's often said that there is nothing worse than somebody with partial information. They don't have the whole story, but they think they know more than they do. Probably not as serious as building an atomic bomb in your backyard, but almost is the individual who feels that he has parliamentary procedure knowledge, which he lacks. Now, there are many areas in which this might apply, but I'm going to talk principally about the phrase laying it on the table. Now, if Mr. Wilkins were to move to lay something on the table, I would assume that he knew exactly what he meant. But if almost anyone else was to suggest that, I would be very suspicious, and I would pursue the matter further to see if they really meant that, because that is an often misused concept. To lay it on the table refers to a temporary hiatus in the business that you're conducting so that something very short-term can occur. The classic example would be if the mayor or the governor stopped by and, being a very busy man or woman, wished to speak for just a few minutes and then leave. You might lay it on your other business on the table while he proceeded, or she, to do this. That would be the correct usage of the word. There are two other occasions in which it is commonly used, but is in fact not correct. One of these, properly used, is to postpone indefinitely. The other one is to postpone definitely. If you postpone indefinitely, you are in effect killing, or at least trying, to kill the bill or the motion without actually debating it or talking about it. We don't do this too much in Toastmasters, but it could come up. In government, they do it a lot of times. If they don't need to discuss a hot topic, why discuss it? You're going to discuss something like abortion, illegal immigrants, whatever. You're going to offend some people. So if it's not absolutely necessary, let's just not discuss it at all, shall we? We'll just never mind. So that would be postponing it indefinitely. It's just a way of killing it without even talking about it at all, and particularly without having your opinion known to the rest of the people. Now, to postpone definitely is yet a third thing. Once again, not laying it on the table, but if you want to postpone something for a while, say to the next business meeting, if the next business meeting isn't too far out, it needs to be within the next quarter, then you could postpone it definitely, to, in other words, to a definite time period. That might give you an opportunity to do any of several things. You might find out more about it, gain more knowledge in some way. If you are sufficiently Machiavellian, it might give you a chance to build your ally base, your voting base, but it would be to a definite time. Now, if you want to bring it up again at a later date, but the later date would be a long ways out, then the only way you can really do that legitimately is to refer it to a committee, and the committee can take as much time as they need, unless there are parameters set for them, to report back on the topic. So, you hear the phrase lay it on the table a lot of times when it is totally inaccurate, but it has exactly one meaning, and that is to lay it the business aside for a short period of time. Other misusage of parliamentary procedure, this is a big waste of time. When somebody makes a motion, that needs to be recorded, but whoever seconds it does not need to be recorded. It's generally pretty clear who's made the motion. It may be very unclear who seconded it. So you have this big argument. Jane seconded it. No, you're wrong. Bill did. No, you're all wet. Yeah, it makes no difference. It just needs to be seconded. You don't need to record who did it. It makes no difference. Also, if you start arguing about it and nobody has seconded it, that's really not important either, because there's an implied second. So long as people show sufficient interest that they want to discuss it, that's all a second is for. It serves no other purpose than to provide guidance to the chair that there's enough interest in this topic that people want to talk about it. Also, another common area you see is the use of the phrase old business. You see this all the time. Old business, new business. Business really doesn't have the capacity to age. It's unfinished business. I mean, you know, you think it's going to collect Social Security after a while? If you didn't finish it, then of course it's unfinished business. Now, there could be a little confusion. Just because you've talked about this topic before doesn't mean that when it comes up this time, it's unfinished. You may have finished it, everything be appropriate last time. If you're bringing it up again, for whatever reason, then it's new business. If you didn't succeed in completing whatever you were trying to before, then it's unfinished business. Not the most serious thing that's ever been done, but there is a difference between unfinished business and new business, and there is no such thing as old business, no matter how long it's been around. It just doesn't work that way. So if you don't understand parliamentary procedure, that's all right, but I would suggest you educate yourself and not attempt to use words and phrases that you don't really understand. It makes it confusing, and instead of speeding things up, which is one of the main goals of parliamentary procedure, it will slow it down and things will not go as well. Mr. Wilkins.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. Very interesting presentation and some insights into just what goes on in a meeting and ways to do it right and ways that could be done a little bit better. We're at the midpoint in our program, and this is where we take a quick break for a little bit of R&R for us, and we see some humorous advertisements for Toastmasters. And when we come back, I think I'm going to do a speech. So I've done that for a while. So we'll come back here in just a few minutes after the PRs. Take her away, Booth.
Are we doing evaluations on air? 'Cause if we do,
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Nomine Patri et Filii Spiritui Sancti.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer. And he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks,
Speaking in public is no joke.
farmer says, doctor says, chicken says,
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
the chicken.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
That's true.
Where's that bell? Welcome back after that little break. We need another sip of water here. We'll compose ourselves and continue on. We had an interesting little break. I was privileged to be able to give a speech last Thursday night, and I had a good review of it. In fact, someone wants to hear it again. So I thought that I might do it for this audience. Not that they haven't heard it, but everybody has. And it was entitled, what was it entitled? Obstructions? Anyway, it's about a man named Demosthenes. Demosthenes lived 200 years before Christ, and he was an orator. Now, he wasn't just an orator, he was the orator. Being raised in ancient Greece by a widowed mother with no other children, him being a sickly little kid, his mother really mollycoddled him. She kept him home. He didn't get to play with the boys out of doors. No horseback riding, no playing with sticks and swords. And so he grew up kind of alone, kind of pasty, kind of not very involved with anything. And in his mid-teens, he discovered the forum where the Greek orators stood and debated the politics of the day and the business of the city of Athens. And he learned how the rhetoric worked, how the organization and the presentations were put together. And he decided, what I'm going to do is I'm going to become an orator, just like them. I'm going to become the best orator I can. Now, I already told you he was kind of weak and sickly, and so he began his own regimen of running up and down the hills around the city of Greece in Athens. And what he did was he tried to build up his lung power so that he would have enough air to breathe, enough force to get it out so he'd be heard, instead of the thin, reedy voice that he currently had. Now, to overcome this thin and reedy voice, he actually went to the coast, and there, standing on the shore, with the surf pounding and the wind blowing back at him, he preached to the sea, with the words being blown back in his face. And over he practiced and talked above the surf, above the wind, above the crashing waves, until finally he could be heard. But that wasn't all. He also had a speech impediment. Now, here's this kid, sick and weakly, no power in his voice, kind of thin and reedy, and a speech impediment. This is not the kind of guy that is going to become Rome's greatest orator, or Greece's most famous orator. But he decided he would cure his speech impediment. He didn't have Toastmasters, not back then. He didn't have a speech therapist to go to, like the King's Speech had a speech therapist. What did he do? Well, the only thing he could do, and he thought of himself, was he went on the seashore and he picked up pebbles, 1 or 2 pebbles, and put them in his mouth. Now, if I had a pebble, I would try it, but I don't happen to have a pebble. So the thing you can do is, if you want to try talking as though you have stones in your mouth, just take your finger and push down on your tongue, and when you start to talk, it doesn't come out very good. Well, his goal was to begin to speak clearly, very distinctly, above and over the stones in his mouth. And it actually must have worked, because he did indeed become the orator that he wanted to. He studied the logic and the rhetoric. He studied the language. He studied and became one of Greece's famous orators. And the man's name was Demosthenes, and I even have a picture of him at home with the wind billowing like sails, blowing his cloak back out to sea as he's preaching to the surf. Now, if you look around where you're at here, I don't think I know of anybody that has bad lungs so that they can't talk, that they don't have enough air to breathe, or anybody that has a speech impediment, or somebody that has a thin and reedy voice. We're all born pretty darn healthy. We could speak, and speak very well. And of course, speak we do. But let's look at what we do and what we say and how we say it. For example, and this is just a for instance, what if on the day that you were born, God assigned to you X amount of words, and when you used all those words up, you died? Wow, Wouldn't that make a difference in what you said and how you said it? Wouldn't gone would be the griping in traffic or the constant complaining to a spouse? Gone would be the arguing and the backbiting, saving those words so that you could use them when it was more important. Okay, well, while we're supposing, let's suppose that if you were to say something nice to someone, you could get a little extra words added to your ultimate store of words that you had. And conversely, if you said something cruel, bad, or evil, or made someone feel bad, your words would be taken away from you. Maybe so. Maybe that's the way it is. And most importantly, and this is very true, don't lie. Let me repeat that. That isn't a very difficult statement. Don't lie. If you lie, you die. Period. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but you will slowly kill yourself with lies. Because it says in the Bible that the wages of sin are death, and the author of the lie is the devil. Simply don't lie. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, if you think about it, you can be the person you want to be. You can find the language that you want. You can choose to be a great orator, or you can choose to just throw your words away as if they had no meaning. You were given one of the greatest gifts in the universe, the ability to communicate one with another using the power of your mind and the ability of speech. That is such a rare and wonderful gift. I sincerely hope that you improve it as much as possible. Perhaps join Toastmasters. Indeed, join Toastmasters. But whether you do or not, watch what you say and how you say it. It says in Philippians, whatever is just, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things, and the peace of God will be with you. Ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right, let us move on to what we call the evaluation portion of the program. And we have our Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training for District 11 as the man to do the evaluations of these speeches. So, Bob, could you stand up here, please?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most honored audience at home. One of the concepts we do is we evaluate to motivate. Most of us have heard the term constructive criticism. Now, our logical mind will hear constructive, but our heart center feels criticism. And there is no good way to get away from criticism. I have the pleasure of being able to evaluate two of my fellow speakers this evening, and the first one was Patricia Knaebe. Her speech title is What's Happening in Division B. She was doing on the format of Organize Your Speech. You see, every speech we do, we have some kind of a format. But the speaker has the opportunity to put in the materials they want to add. And I think Patricia did, as usual, a fabulous job of giving her speech. She is a talented and gifted speaker. She always finds something that has great speech value for her audience. For example, tonight it was for us here and for you folks at home. But I've heard her talk about speeches about her dogs that were pure entertainment value for the group she was speaking to, and we weren't the ASPCA. We were just people that could come from where she is with the animals and the love that she has for them. She had a good preparation, you could tell, good organization, logical, clear flow. Her opening was good, the body was smooth, and the conclusion was effective. Again, a gifted and talented speaker, and it's my honor to have been able to evaluate you. Next up was Tom Haller, who I have the honor to evaluate, and he did a persuade with power speech. Sometimes we want to persuade people to our point of view. So how do we do that? Well, the verbal way of doing it is by giving them a good discussion without them knowing that you're planning to bring them into your point of view. Some people may pick it up. Tom talked with us about the correct terms for parliamentary procedure and why is it important that you have the correct terms and the correct usage. Now, I will confess I'm a babe in the woods when it comes to parliamentary procedure. I know just about enough to get myself in trouble. These two gentlemen at the table are experts, and I learned a lot tonight. Tom always shows very strong enthusiasm when he speaks. He has good poise, good use of gestures, and it is always my pleasure to hear him. And I thought he did a great job with the speech. And tonight, I am a learned one for having listened to him. I am very glad that I had the opportunity to evaluate him with this speech. Both of you, kudos, great job. And now I will return control of the lectern to our Toastmaster, Dave Wilkins. Dave.
You want to talk about my,
Sorry?
you want to talk about my speech at all?
Oh, well, now, it's very rare that I get the opportunity to evaluate a gentleman of such experience. I remember hearing this story when I was very, very young, but I could never remember the name. And I thought, what a great concept for overcoming obstacles in our lives. I'm not sure I'd want to, because we have to be careful with wanna. That's one thing us Hoosiers are good at doing, is little contractions. I would want to do that with the pebbles, because from the St. Joe River, I'm not sure what you'd pick up with the pebbles if you went down there and got those. Some clean ones, even then, I wouldn't want to, because I would probably swallow them. At the same time, Dave always has great poise. He always shares great information with us. He always has that poise. And he always is able to slip in a great smile as he's going through it. He looks like a professional Toastmaster, professional speaker, presenter, which he is. So I would say everything was done well. That is one story I can listen to more than once. He is a gifted storyteller, and I will say I've had the pleasure tonight of being able to evaluate 3 fabulous speakers. Now I will return control to Dave.
Okay, all right. Alrighty, well, thank you very much, Bob Norris. And maybe now we could turn to the topic of parliamentary procedure for just a little bit. There are a whole book of things that we have to know about parliamentary procedure, and those books that book is this one right here. It's called Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, in this case the 11th edition. It has just everything you would want to know. So what we have to do in order to help people learn about it is to break it down into easily digested little bite sizes. And to that end, Tom took this evening some time to talk about some common misconceptions. Now, does anybody have any questions about parliamentary procedure that they would like to answer or possibly discuss?
Yes, I do. I went to a meeting a while back, and a subject was brought up that, in my opinion, should not really have been brought up. And then the meeting lugged from there, and I thought, there's got to be some way to basically stop this person from carrying on about a subject that is not really beneficial to the group. And as I've said, I'm kind of the novice when it comes to parliamentary procedure, and I thought maybe Tom or you could give me some helpful hints on what to do next time.
Well, I think that there is. Tom, do you want to say anything first before I do?
Sure. I mean, there would be some different things you could do. What I would be inclined to recommend would be that you object to consideration. That is a motion. You object to considering the motion which has just been made. It does not require a second. It does not require a second at all, and there's no discussion of it. The whole point is to get on with it and not discuss it. Mm-hmm. So once that motion is made, there's little option, if you're going to follow parliamentary procedure, to going ahead and taking a vote. It will take a 2/3 majority, because you are taking away some of the members' rights to discuss this matter. So it takes a 2/3 majority, which will mean it will have to be a counted vote. But that would stop it in its tracks. There would not be any discussion. Depending on how long the vote takes, it could save an awful lot of time. It could also send a pretty strong message. If the individual who makes that can't muster even a third of the people to show enough interest to talk about it, there's a pretty good chance that the motion was not going to pass had it carried forward. So maybe we can just be done with it. It is expressly for this purpose. When people continuously bring up the same thing time after time with no reason to think it's going to come out any different this time than it did the other times.
Right. It's a motion that if someone has made it, it's so egregious or so contentious that it might actually hurt the group if it were to be discussed. I would say, though, that it is a 2/3 vote in the affirmative, not a 2/3 majority.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's the term. And then the one caveat that goes with that is, if you're going to object to consideration, you have to do it immediately. As soon as that motion has been presented by the maker, you have to move to object immediately. If even one person begins discussing it, the objection to consideration chance goes away and it does not come back. So those are just two things to remember about that. Yes, Bob?
When you're saying 2/3 majority of vote in affirmative, do you mean to shut
vote in the affirmative?
In the affirmative, you mean to have the object to consideration motion go through, or they would need 2/3 to overcome it?
You would need 2/3 vote for it to pass.
Okay.
Because you're affecting the rights of the members,
Okay.
and you wouldn't want to do that. Okay. So you find out to make sure that the majority, well over the majority, a 2/3 vote, do not want to talk about that particular issue.
Okay.
Any other questions? I will say something here that probably will just fly right over the top, but it needs to be said. When a main motion is presented and is on the table, it's a single declaratory statement usually. It could be as simple as, I move we paint the room red. That's a single declaratory statement. You could either want to do it or not want to do it. That is a main motion. There are three broad groups of amendments that can go on that. There is subsidiary motions, incidental motions, and privileged motions. The object to consideration falls in the category of subsidiary motions. In other words, you couldn't, a subsidiary means it's underneath or on top of something, besides something. So you couldn't have an object to consideration if there was nothing there. So that's why it's a subsidiary motion. Yes.
Just to clarify and make sure in my own mind that I'm right about this, if this is a different topic, I assume we've completed that topic. If a committee makes a report to the effect that they not change anything, that things continue on the way they are, would that in fact be a motion, or would there be any vote, or does it just stand on its own and in effect bounces the ball to the other court if there are people who want to make a change? Is that clear at all? You don't look like it was clear.
Let me see if I can straighten it out. Say a committee has been formed to do something, okay, and they decide that what they want to do is nothing?
No. Let us say, for example, there's been a committee formed at a Toastmaster district meeting to look into the possibility of creating a new division. And they've looked into it and they've decided it would be a mistake to create a new division. Mm-hmm. Would they then recommend that there be
no action taken?
No action taken? Would that?
Well, I'm not even sure why a committee would have had to have been formed, because there are guidelines from Toastmasters International that have to be met before a division can even be considered. I think that you have to have enough clubs to provide at least 3 areas, and each area has to have at least 4 clubs. So that's 12 clubs right there. Mm-hmm. Would this committee be looking into the fact of whether or not there's 12 clubs? Or looking, because if without 12 clubs, it couldn't be an issue. It could not be an issue.
What could happen, though, is you could have enough on paper to say you have 24 clubs, so that you have 12 and 12 if you divided the division. But the health of those clubs may be shaky at best so that at one point you say, okay, we have enough to split the division. They create a new division, 12 and 12, and then 6 months or a year later, 3 or 4 of those clubs fold in a division, so that division ends up folding one way or the other, so you actually haven't accomplished anything.
So doesn't the district governor and his council and people around him, aren't they the ones that make that decision? It would seem to me that would be. Or even Toastmasters International would probably know the health of clubs.
I think what could come up, and maybe has come up, is the idea that a committee could be created to evaluate it, other than just looking at the paper that says we have 24 clubs, to look at it and say, do we have sufficient clubs, number one, and is the health of the clubs sufficient enough to warrant that a year from now or whatever we don't end up defeating our own purposes by dividing and having to start over again.
Well, yeah, and if that happens, that is a horrible waste of money, because you've spent money for materials for a division, you spent money for materials for stocking that division with officers and so on, and then only to have it all fall away would be a very sad thing. It sounds like somebody wants to put the cart before the horse.
I'm sure you're very right about that. But just back to the basic question. Supposing a committee was formed to look into buying everybody an encyclopedia set, and the committee reported back that it was not a good idea to do this, would they in fact be making a motion not to do this, or would things just...
This committee was formed to look into this,
Right.
but they would come back with a recommendation to not do it. Isn't that what they would do?
Well, I assume they would. But then when they do that, is that in effect a motion that needs voted on, or is it an end to the matter? That's what I'm wondering.
I believe it would be an end to the matter unless somebody is going to really want to press it. I wouldn't know why you would want to do that, though.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you could imagine a circumstance which would be about in balance. Okay. Well, that was my thought on the matter, but I wanted to seek a wiser opinion.
Okay. When you're preliminary beginning studying parliamentary procedure, a couple of things that we like to make sure that the people are aware of is the fact of how important it is to have an agenda, how important it is to know how to handle a main motion, and how to take the various kinds of vote that would be required. For example, you've mentioned a number of times the 2/3 vote in the affirmative. That people might mistakenly try to take that by all in favor, say aye. You cannot take a 2/3 vote by voice. It has to be visual. Now, what kind of visual? It doesn't matter. It doesn't say. But it has to be either a show of hands, people standing and standing up, or counting. There's several ways you can do a counted vote, but you want to make sure that you're not trying to accomplish a 2/3 vote with the rules for a simple majority, which is a voice vote. And there's some very interesting articles that deal with the fact that eyes and nose cover so many different sounds that that one by Kim Goldsworthy, he just goes into it in such detail, and it's worth knowing. Okay, we're down to the last 3 minutes. Well, gee, time flies when you're having fun, guys. I'd like to give everybody a final moment, a final thought. And we started last with you, Patricia, so let's start first with you this time.
Okay. All right. I would like to invite everyone to visit the American Red Cross Toastmasters Club. We meet on Tuesdays at noon at the Red Cross, which is on California Road. The building is across the street from the Coliseum. On Coliseum Boulevard, you can see the Red Cross building immediately across the street. We have a lot of fun. Guests are always welcome, and you can come back as a guest if you're not sure if you want to join or if you want to look at other clubs but still visit our club. You can come back as a guest as often as you would like. the door is open, and we welcome you.
Thank you, Patricia. And Tom, do you have a final thought for us?
Yes, I'd be delighted to have you come and visit either the Bob Lyman Club, which meets every second and fourth Monday in the North Crest Pizza Hut. We have a special section set aside for us. And also the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters Club, which meets at room 1550 in the Ivy Tech building, the South Campus. And that meets every week at Thursday. All evening clubs meet at 6:30, start at 6:30. You would be more than welcome to join or visit either one. And also the advanced leaders and speakers. If you are currently a Toastmaster and have completed your CC manual, we would love to see you there. In fact, I believe we're having an open house this coming Monday, right here within walking distance of where we're broadcasting from. So we would, that is correct, isn't it?
February 3rd.
February 3rd. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was sooner than that. Okay. Well, at any rate, here at the main library, upstairs in the business and technology room, I guess, we'll be meeting. And we would look forward to any experienced Toastmasters joining us if they'd be interested.
All right. Thank you, Tom. And last but not least, our own Bob Norris.
I would just say come join us for the speech contest Saturday morning. It's free, great entertainment, gives you an opportunity to see how Toastmasters put humor with their speeches.
Okay, great job. And I'd like to thank Marty Stern, Don Rizwan, and Robert Boyd, all for getting this show on the air tonight, with a special thanks to Elizabeth Lord for getting us on the screen up here. And to all you folks who watched this evening, I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, our next parliamentary meeting is here in the library, in the Globe Room, on October 21st, and our next TV program will be right here in this room on November 5th. And one of the young ladies that I knew, Anthony Lane, that's new at Anthony Lane, expressed a desire to be on, so we may have a guest next month. So otherwise, we'll see you guys all next month, November 5th. It's the date. I'll call you. All right. And folks, thanks for watching at home. And may all your meetings be fair and efficient, and for better speaking, listening, and thinking. God bless you. Good night. Thank you.